Amid questions over anomalous flood control projects, we now talk to former DPWH Secretary Rogelio Singson to help us understand how flood control projects are supposed to work, from the planning and bidding to budget release and inspection. Magandang umaga po sa inyo. Thank you so much for joining us and for your time.
Thank you so much, Gretchen, for having me. Thank you.
Okay. Yesterday, we're coming off from the hearing on flood control projects, and the Secretary was put on the hot seat with him. We heard him say that they're still validating many of the flood control projects on the ground, and whether these were completed and whether the reports were true. Do you agree with the Senator Sherwin Gatchalian's statement that the DPWH may be fully responsible over all of these flood control projects, that they should be held fully accountable?
Gretchen, the issue has the process of DPWH in terms of identifying projects has really been bastardized several times over. It's fairly simple. During my stint there, we had very clear criteria for projects to be executed. The main reason I've been following all these discussions is that before, a district engineer only had control over 50 million projects. In other words, a district engineer can only approve up to 50 million. It goes up to the regional director, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, at the 150 threshold. Anything above 150, it goes to central office for a more thorough review. Okay. What has happened in the past is the 50 million threshold has been increased to 150 million pesos. In other words, the district engineer and his Bids and Awards Committee is now responsible for projects up to 150 million. So you can imagine what's happening in the process. A 1 billion project, china-chop-chop na yan ng 150 million each, so that it does not go to the scrutiny of anyone above the district engineer. Let's face it, the district engineer is very vulnerable to politicians. He is vulnerable to the congressman, to the LGUs, and so I pity these guys.
Okay. So, yun po yung nangyayari ngayon. Pagka yung district engineer po is responsible for about 150 million, are there lots of district engineers in a certain province that are involved then if china-chop-chop po ito, or pinapalabas na maraming proyekto under just one engineer?
Yeah, let's just focus on flood control. Ang dami-daming lumalabas na projects. No? But under the DPWH standard of good governance, first of all, you determine, are those projects the right projects? Tanong mo, tama ba yan? Ginawan ba ng tamang studies yan? Is that part of a master plan? Especially if it's a flood control, is it part of a flood master plan for the river basin? Hindi pwede yung kung saan mo lang gustong ilagay ang project na yan. It has to make sense. Is it the right project? Pangalawang tanong, is that the right cost? Binid mo ba ng tama yan? Hindi ba hausyaw yan? O hindi ba addressed to favored politicians or addressed to contractors? Or sinasabi nilang may model ngayon na bago, subcontracting. Kukunin ko itong project na ito, pero hindi ako yung mag-execute. Kaya yung ibang contractors nakakakuha ng much more than their actual cash capacity. Imagine mo yung pinag-uusapan ni Senator Gatchalian. Magkano na yung paid up capital mo? Wala pa 1 milyon. Ang project mo, 6 billion. Paano nangyari yon? No? So, pangatlo, quality. I urge the local communities, the LGUs, makialam kayo dyan. At the end of the day, proyekto ng probinsya yan. Proyekto ng community yan. Bakit hindi kayo magbantay dyan sa mga projects na yan? No? So, you have the communities have to be engaged. Hindi pwede yung sabihin nyo, hindi namin alam yan. Pakialaman nyo dahil kayo makikinabang dyan o kayo mapeperwisyo. Inubos na yung pera ng bayan dyan sa probinsya nyo, wala pa nangyayari. Taon-taon yan.
That's what I wanted to ask as a second question. No? We had Governor Daniel Fernando here on the show at sinabi po niya wala siyang alam kasi lahat po ito ay national, DPWH. Pero hindi po ba they would have to sign off also on these projects to be able to release, disburse the budget and to signify that the project has been completed? Wala po bang ganong mechanism?
Hindi naman requirement yon, Gretchen. But it is up to the DPWH to engage the community and the local officials. I always had the church behind me, the local media, and the LGU. No? Barangay captain ka o community leader ka, bantayan mo yung project namin. At the end of the day, kayo ang makikinabang o kayo ang mapeperwisyo. Ganun lang ka-diretso yan.
Okay, I wanted to go through the whole process wherein an infrastructure project is requested for and then awarded and then the contractor is actually paid. Can we begin with the procedure where a project is initiated? Who makes the request and how does it begin and how are projects prioritized?
Okay, may proseso yan. Ano? So first, at the district engineer level, no, district level, may mga list of projects coming from all quarters. Sabi mo na, congressman, local government, barangay, gusto namin ganito, ganyan. You have to identify those projects and collate all of it at the district level, at the regional level, and then at the provincial level. All of these are now collated by the department and becomes part of what is now referred to as the National Expenditures Program, NEP. The President signs off all of these submissions from the different departments and submits it to Congress. Okay. After that, the Congress now will review them. Siyempre, kanya-kanyang interest na yan. Yung bang proyekto sa distrito ko, tama ba yan? Sa akin ba yan? Kanino ba yan? Sino nag-submit yan? And everything else. And that's why you have these hearings. After those budget hearings, the Congress will come out with what is referred to as GAA, General Appropriations Act, which is now the budget proposals or budget appropriation na yan. Now, ang question dyan, between the NEP that was submitted, in particular DPWH, and what was approved in Congress, may tinatawag na insertions, may nagsingitan na wala naman sa programa ni DPWH. Saan nanggaling yan? Di siyempre sa Kongreso. Okay? Anong klase yung mga siningit niya? Ba't ang laki-laki? 800 billion ang sinabmit sa NEP, lumabas 1.1 trillion. Yung 200 billion na yan, saan pupunta yan? Ang balita ko, puros flood control karamihan yan. Bakit? Anong basis niyan? Yan ang mga tanongin ng Senado. Isa-isahin nila. Si Senator Ping Lacson, yan ang ginagawa niya dati sa amin. Tatanungin niya na kagad yan. Ano nangyari? Ano itong mga insertions? Ano itong pork barrel na to? Tawagin na natin pork barrel. Name it in whatever, but sa akin, yung insertions yan, hindi namin alam saan nanggaling yan.
Okay, so ibig sabihin po kung ito po ay dinadala sa Kongreso for review at dito po nangyayari yung mga insertions, ibig sabihin ng mga kongresista ay may full knowledge of the budgets that go to their districts and provinces. Tama po ba?
Of course, surely.
Oo. So kung ayaw din po nila maglagay ng budget sa isang lugar, pwede rin po nilang tanggalin at ilagay po sa iba?
Pwede naman. Pero siyempre, iiyak yung binawasan.
Okay. So,
Kaya puros dagdag para walang away.
Yun nga rin po ang tatanungin ko sana, no? Kasi kung ang pera ay dumadaan po sa mga congressman at yun po yung kailangan para mapaandar yung DPWH sa isang lugar, hindi po ba dapat,
Hindi, let me correct.
oo,
Hindi yung pera yung dumadaan, yung list of projects.
list
Yung
of
pera,
projects lang,
ibang
for the
paraan
approval
yun.
only. Oo. So, itong mga congressman, when they look at the DPWH budget, do they do reviews of these flood control projects? And kung ano po, kung kailangan po ba talaga ito?
Dapat ginagawa nila yon. Kasi kung talagang hindi naman kailangan yon and they need it for, let's say, improving their bridges or their other infrastructure, they can say so. Kasi DPWH has different programs. National roads and bridges, you have flood control, you have what we call convergence. No? Halimbawa, nasa distrito ko may seaport, pero yung papunta sa seaport, barangay road. Paano papasok ang container vans dyan? I'd rather focus resources of government to making those barangay roads national roads. No? Yung ganun ba?
Okay. So, are flood control projects the easiest loophole to exploit? I mean, kayo na po nagsabi
Yes.
na marami po
Yes.
insertions sa flood control po napupunta.
Yes.
Bakit ho? Bakit ho?
Several times, yes.
Yun po yung number
Kasi-
one, numero uno.
Pinakamadali.
Kasi po sa dredging, hindi na po mamamonitor kung na-dredge
Of
na
course, sino
yung mga
naman
riprap,
nagbibilang
hindi po
kung ilang
makikita yung
hakot
ilalim. Oo. Okay. But ito po sa mga decade na nakita po natin sa Bulacan, marami po sa kanila ay parang walang bakal, ano? I mean, wala po bang standard ang DPWH dito na dapat pag meron po kayo in-implement na proyekto, ini-inspect po yan at dapat it holds to a certain standard to make sure that it lasts for a long time. Oo.
Let's face it. No? Yung flood control project na yan, kung kailangan ng sheet piles, dapat umabot hanggang doon sa hard surface sa ilalim ng tubig. No? Usually, ang sheet pile, 8 meters ang haba niyan para nakabaon at saka naka-anchor sa ilalim na hard surface. Pero yung kontratista, kung ang natitira na lang sa kanya 30% for the project, he has to make money for 12%. So 42% matitira sa contractor. Yung 8 meters na yan, obviously, hindi niya na kayang gawin yan. Puputulin niya na yan sa 1 metro na lang. So yung 1 metro nakalutang yan. The next flood comes, wipe out yan. Walang ibig sabihin yung 1 metro. Hindi man lang umabot sa ilalim ng hard surface. Yan ang katotohanan dyan. At sinabi na ni Mayor Magalong yan sa amin.
Okay. So, tama po ba na pati ito po mga contractor financially constrained din? And that's the reason, kayo na po nagsabi na that's the reason why they would have to make their own profits. That's why kumbaga substandard yung mga proyekto.
Yes.
Kasi hindi rin po sila nababayaran on time or hindi rin sila nababayaran ng malaki-laki. Kumbaga, in terms of the profit sharing, they don't really get a huge amount.
Yeah, there's nothing left for a good project. 30% is not enough to construct a project according to specifications. Ang problema talaga dyan is the inspection. No? Kaya I am calling the attention of the LGUs and the communities themselves. May project sa inyong komunidad, bantayan nyo, pakialaman nyo, alamin nyo kung ano yung quality niyan. Dahil I am sure, pagka nag-shortcut yan, kayo ang mapeperwisyo. Yang bahana yan, matagal na dapat na solusyonan yan. Ilang beses nang paulit-ulit yung flood control project sa distrito nyo, hindi na na-resolve yan.
Okay. Let's continue on the process. So after po the requests are sent to the district engineer from the district, provincial, and regional, what is the process for bidding out these projects and how are the bidders chosen?
Yeah, the district engineer or the district office of DPWH as a local or a district bids and awards committee. Okay. So the bids and awards committee is the one that conducts the bidding. Now, kung yung mga nandiyan dyan, walang ayaw sundin yung proseso or nasabihan na kung sino yung mananalo, ano pa ibibid nila? Nagkalutuan na pala.
Okay, so
There
in
are
this,
standards for contractors to be pre-qualified. Meron kang sinusunod. Critical to that is what is referred to as the net financial contracting capability. How can a small company, a sole proprietorship with less than 250 million get 7, 20, 40 billion project? Hindi ko maintindihan yon. Paano nakakakuha yon kung hindi naman talagang pinagsabihan na huwag nyo nang tignan yung NFCC na yan.
katulad po nitong MG Samidan na meron ng po 250,000 in paid-up capital that it was awarded about 5 billion in projects. How does that happen? I mean, bakit hindi po nasasala ito?
Yeah, as I said earlier, the process has been badly bastardized several times.
Wala pong kumukontra dito
Well,
sa kanila. Kumbaga
nandiyan ang
parang nangyari
COA.
na lang.
If they do their
Okay.
job, hindi sila pikit mata, makikita kaagad nila yan. And the communities themselves. Mabuti nga si Governor Dan Fernando nagsasalita na lahat yung projects niya, wala kaming kinalaman. Yung sinasabi ni Governor Albano, tama siya. Yung buong Cagayan River na yan is the longest and the biggest river basin ng Pilipinas. Doon,
Okay.
tubig nanggagaling pa sa Cordillera. Wipe out lahat yung kanilang rice lands doon.
Oh, so then is it safe to say that the inspectors here must be held responsible?
Halo-halo na yan, Gretchen. Mahirap na magtuluan. Basta't sundan lang sana nila yung proseso at bantayan ng community.
Kasi sila
There
po
will
ang
be less
nag-a-approve
corruption.
Oo. Yung inspectors po, saan po nanggagaling? Yung mga nag-signatories po before mabayaran yung contractor?
Yan ang nakakatawa dyan. Kung sino yung nag-identify ng project na district office, siya din ang mag-i-inspect, siya din ang mag-a-approve, siya din ang magbabayad. Walang check and balance. Yung panahon
much
ko,
power.
I had third party, private sector inspecting the projects. Hindi pwede yung ikaw na nag-approve, ikaw na nag-inspect, ikaw pa yung tatanggap, ikaw magbabayad. Nasaan yung check and balance siya? Walang check and balance. Tapos kukontsabahin pa yung COA auditor. Talagang nasa laula na yung proseso.
Okay. Hindi po ba required po ang signature dito ng barangay? Kung saan po ginawa yung proyekto?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But
so
as a process, they should be involved.
okay. And then the COA, when do they step in?
Post-audit, which is bad.
Tapos na.
Tapos na. Wala na makikita yon. Nag-dredging na. Nabilang ba nila kung ilang hakot ng lupa dyan?
Okay.
Tapos,
You
ang
mentioned,
isasagot lang nila, umulan bumaba uli yung putik. Nandiyan dyan na naman.
you mentioned getting a third party. And did you apply that throughout all of
did.
the projects?
I did.
On your own prerogative, but it's not standard practice.
No. Pero I needed check and balances. No? Somebody has, hindi naman pwede ikaw ng lahat, ikaw pa magbabayad. Kung nasabihan ka kung sino mananalo dyan, at in-inspection mo kunyari yan, wala nang check and balance yan. And that's why I'm saying, the community themselves have to get involved. They have to be engaged. Makikita naman, ang dali-dali naman sukatin yan. Yung kalye, yung konkreto, dapat ganito kakapal. Yung sheet pile, dapat 8 meters. Tingnan mo, yung sheet pile na dinala dyan, 8 meters pa yan, 1 meter na lang.
Totoo. Pero kung ang power po ay nasa district office at district engineer, hindi po ba matatakot din ho yung local community na magsalita dahil baka sa susunod hindi na po sila mapagbigyan dun sa mga request nila sa kanilang barangay o sa kanilang distrito?
Hindi. Karapatan nila yun na magsalita. Eh kung mananahimik sila, eh di ganyan, magpasensyaan tayo, magdusa kayo pagdating ng tubig.
Okay. And the DPWH Secretary, how do you get your reports on the progress of these projects? Kasi kahapon po, sabi po ni Secretary Punuan, binavalidate pa nila, may mga tao sa baba, yung information sa baba. Ano po ba, to help us understand, ano po ba dapat alam ng Secretary?
Merong software available, no, that we use, no, where you monitor both the financial disbursements, what we call financial accomplishment versus the fiscal accomplishment. Hindi pwede yung nauunang nababayaran, wala pang tapos na project. Tapos na yung bayaran, completed na, pero yung project hindi pa kompleto. Meron, ang dali-dali, software available yan. Primavera ang tawag dyan. We use that extensively from the districts, the regions, all the way to the top. So at the end of the month, mako-consolidate mo kaagad yan. O saan tayo na-delay? Bakit ganito ang delay dyan sa project na yan? Pero advance payments lahat.
Well, do you think the Secretary was really not aware of what was happening?
No, I pity Secretary Bono. I pity him. Because 150, wala na siyang control eh. Wala nang project daw sa central office. No? Ang nasa central office na lang na ginagawa nila, yung official development assistance, foreign assisted. Dahil lahat nasa district or at the most nasa region.
Okay, so then siguro kailangan pong ipatawag sa Kongreso itong mga district engineer.
Dapat lang, umpisa niya sa Bulacan. Tanong niya kung saan nanggaling yung district engineer dyan.
Okay. Kung kayo po ay magpropose po ng mga amendments, no, to how these flood control projects are bidded and awarded and requested, ano po kaya yun? Paano po kaya mas magiging pulido po yung checks and balances po natin?
Yeah, they just have to adapt what we had already before, yung good governance and anti-corruption measures, which is the 5 Rs. No? Right project ba yan? May mga measures yan to determine if they're the right projects. Right cost ba yan? Meron, kasi dati kami, meron unit standards. No? May cost unit standards. Hindi pwede magkatabi kayong distrito, iba presyo ng semento, pareho kayong nasa Bulacan, iba presyo ng isang distrito sa isa. Bakit? Saan nanggaling yung sementong yan? So, right cost. Pangatlo, right quality. Bantayan ninyo yan ng tama, hindi yung kayo-kayo rin ang magbabantay. Third party and the community should be monitoring those projects. Pang-apat, right on time. Hindi naman yung paulit-ulit, taon-taon, yan pa rin ang binubugbog nyo nang wala namang pinupuntahan. Pang-lima, right people. Ito, importante. Right people. Tama ba yan na nandiyan dyan? During my time, walang outsider na nagiging district engineer. Puros dumaan sa proseso yan. Pagka may vacancy, it's all promotion from within. Sino yung gusto mag-apply, apply kayo. Then we will go to the process. All appointments are vetted at the ExCom of DPWH. It's there. Let's not reinvent the wheel. It is there. Kaya lang, as I said, it's been bastardized. Naawa ako sa DPWH. Ang dami naman professionals dyan. Pero lahat sila damay. I'm hearing stories, nahihiya na sila sa kapitbahay nila na tiga DPWH sila.
Okay. And pagdating po sa mga contractor that are given these projects, tama po ba na yung times 15 yung computation ng net financial contracting capacity? Hindi po ba dapat mas malaki yung capital mo to be able to handle a certain project at hindi maliit na minumultiply po? Alam po natin sa bank loan yun, di ba? Pero I mean, how is that computation done and
If
assessment?
you review properly, makikita mo yan. Hindi naman straightforward times 15. Kung meron siyang ongoing projects na hindi pa niya natatapos na umpisan, babawasan mo yon. Dahil obligasyon na niya yun eh. Ito mukhang hindi, straightforward. Basta taon-taon, 15% of what I have. Teka muna, paano yung hindi mo ginagawa at hindi mo pa natatapos? That's part of your capacity.
Okay. Baka kayo po ang pwedeng maimbitahan sa hearing. At maganda po ang insight po ninyo, into the whole process. Thank you so much for enlightening us. Maraming mga katanungan dyan. Sino nga ba
Thank you,
responsable?
Gretchen. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Dahil nga po, nagtuturoan na.
As I said, I'm doing this because I love the institution I serve for 6 years. Naawa ako dun sa mga taong nandiyan dyan, including Secretary Bonoan himself.
Okay, maraming salamat po for your time today and for shedding light on all of these flood control projects. We have former DPWH Secretary Rogelio Singson joining us on Morning Matters today.